Started recording. Okay, so today's class is availability of the application. So I told you to increase the availability. I mean, before we get into that, what do you mean by the availability? Availability is nothing but you have to make sure the application or the service is available maximum of the time. Say for example, in the year or per month, okay, around 740 hours is there, correct, right? If you consider 31 31 days into 24 hours, okay, it will be around 704 740 hours, okay. So this is called as 100% uptime. If the application is up and running all the 740 hours, that is called as 100% availability of the application. But Microsoft will tell you if you just consume our services, if you consume the Azure services, we will guaranteed you about 99% of the availability. Means they will just give you 99% of the availability, but still 1% will go for toss. Correct na? So what they are telling, we will give you multiple options to increase the availability of the application, and you can plan your application availability according to your requirement or according to your budget. See, every IT manager or the CIOs will have their own budget. For the year, so and so. For the year, you have 10 lakhs of budget and you have to run the IT operations for the year. Okay, then whenever you are solutioning any solution, right, whenever you are planning for a solution, right, you need to consider your budget, okay, and all the expenses, and what kind of application it is it a critical application or it is a test application? Based on that you can plan. So my suggestion, all the critical applications or the production related applications, you should always plan for the high availability. Okay, so how to increase the high availability? So Microsoft will give you multiple options. So before we get into the, there are three options actually. One is you can just, one is you can put the applications behind the load balancer. First one is load balancer. Second one is you can put availability set. Third one is availability zone. Okay, we will also call it as AZ, and we will, with this one we will call it as AS. Okay, this is a load balancer. So Microsoft will give you these three kinds of availability options. But by default, by default, when Microsoft gives you, okay, Microsoft has got around 52 regions across the globe. Microsoft, how many regions has got? Around 52 regions. So how the Microsoft designed, how the Microsoft regions are designed. Consider that you have one region in Karnataka. Okay, we don't have Karnataka region. Okay, Karnataka we don't have region actually, but example I'm giving you. Consider this as an region. It is an example. Okay. So how Microsoft designs the each and every region is within the Karnataka only they will put three physical data center. These are all rooms, buildings. Okay. They consider, I mean, they construct three different data center, physical data center. Okay, one is in maybe Bangalore, another one is in Mysore, third one is in Mangalore. Okay, how they have designed it is they make sure each and every region is minimum 250-kilometer distance, at least 250-kilometer distance. Okay, this is little huge, around 500. Okay, so like this they will call it as, and overall this setup is, this completely they call it as a single region. Understood? So when Microsoft tells you Microsoft has got a region, within the region, Microsoft will make sure they have three physical data center which are separated at least minimum 250 kilometer and maximum 500 is also there. Okay, and minimum three physical data centers are there, and this three physical data center we will call it as availability zones. AZ, okay, availability zone. This is one first availability zone. This is the second availability zone. This is the third availability zone. So within the region, Microsoft has got three different physical data center. Why they have put the three physical data center? Say for example, if you simply keep one physical data center in the Bangalore, imagine Bangalore, there are a lot of things are going on. Okay, any terrorist activity or something happened, and it got blast. Somebody put the bomb and then they blast Bangalore. Okay, entire Bangalore get vanishes. That time the entire customers data will go for the toss. People will not have, or the customers will not have the data of their applications. Then not only Bangalore will get vanished, whoever has got put the data in the data center will also lose their business. They will be also get bankrupted. Correct? They will come to the street because all their workloads are there. Thinking that in the mind, what Microsoft will tell you, when you are deploying the virtual machine or when you are deploying an application, put by following the three availabilities that we are giving you here, that load balancer, availability set, and availability zone. So what Microsoft will tell you, when you are deploying the virtual machine or application, right? Say for example, you are having an application called facebook.com. So what they are telling, try to put this application in a load balancer and deploy virtual machines in the different availability sets, availability zone, sorry. So you keep a virtual machine here in one of the data center, another data center, another data center, and now you connect these data centers behind the load balancer. Now, say for example, when the user hits for the application will hit to the load balancer. The user will hit the load balancer, and load balancer will work on a concept called 5-tuple hashing algorithm. Okay, using that 5-tuple hashing algorithm like source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, and the protocol, it makes sure I should send the request to which of the computer or the server. Then it will start sending the queries to this computer. But behind this load balancer, the servers are there. No, the application which is running in these three servers are the same. Okay, I'll tell you one more thing. Okay, the applications behind this load balancer, this application, this application is, are the same applications only. Copy. This server is a copy of this one. This server is the copy of this one, and the data will be always synchronized. Okay, maybe we have a separate database here. Okay, okay, and this is the DB, and the DB is common for all these applications, and this is only the front end node, front end of the application. What do you mean by front end of the application? Front end of the application means the URL that you use to access an application, that is called as a front end of the application. So in the backend there are various components. You see in the backend you have three application servers, you have a separate database, correct na? It is a two tier or three tier application. Sometimes you will have middleware component also, means this will be like middleware. Okay, on top of that applications will be there, and below that database will be there. So that is called as three tier applications because you have three different components. To leverage the Facebook, I mean the front end URL, you have a load balancer. Behind a load balancer, you have three different applications. I mean three different server with the same application, and you have database also to give the data. Imagine for some reason this server or this data center collapsed. But here it is not a single point of failure. When the user hits this facebook.com and this load balancer knows that, and it will always try to query the health probes we have created. Every 5 seconds, this will send the query to this server, checking whether it is responding to the HTTP and HTTPS, port number 80 and port number 443. If it is not responding, this load balancer will consider this as unhealthy. It will remove from the sending the query. Okay, then what it will do, it will transfer the query here, application query. Then the user, he will not even know whether I am connecting to the server 1, server 2, server 3, because he is just hitting to the facebook.com load balancer, and the load balancer is responsible to make sure the health of the virtual machines behind the load balancer are proper. And if for any reason the server goes down, it is responsible to redirect your query to the healthy application server. Okay, then the application will be redirected, the user will be redirected to this application server. And you see here the same applications, this is, I told you, this application server is also copy of the each other, and you see that has got the connection to the database, means it will have the latest data also available. So if you use this kind of options, means using a load balancer and using a availability zone options, Microsoft will guarantee you 99.9999, means we will call it as 6 nines of SLA. SLA means what? Service level agreement. What is an SLA? Service level agreement. What is that agreement? Microsoft will tell you, if you buy my products, if you deploy a server in my data center, and I'll make sure your applications will be always available 99.9999% of the time. Remaining that 0.0001% is the no, that is okay to do the maintenance activity, because they also doing the data center like patching activity, upgrade activity, maintenance activity, right? That 1 hour, half an hour, that is not a problem. That is per 1 year, 1 hour, like, when they restart, probably over 10 seconds, 15 seconds, the server may go down. That you will not even know, you will not even come to know whether that is happening or not. Okay, such kind of things. So this is one of the important one. I think now it is clear with respect to the load balancer and the availability zone. Is it clear, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let us understand what is this availability zone and availability set. Availability set you already know. So availability zone you already know. But why we need availability zone? Let me explain now. Now let us talk about availability zone or availability. So availability zone means, I told you, 3 different physical data center in the same region, correct? When I consider my example Karnataka as a region, okay, and in Karnataka only you have Bangalore, you have Mysore, you have Bangalore, Mysore, and Mangalore, correct? So this is all together a region. Why we need availability zone? We need availability zone so to safeguard the application whenever there is a data center disaster happens. To come out of the possibility of data center disaster, if you keep an application one here, same application copy here, same application copy here, something goes wrong also, you have this 2 applications, user can hit these 2 applications. Okay, he can browse the application without having any impact. That is for the availability region, because separate space, separate network, separate cooling system, okay, separate electricity, everything is separate. Even the physical data, I mean physically also separated around minimum 350 to 500 kilometer. Okay, that is called as availability zone. So next is availability set. Availability set. So what do you mean by available? Have you ever heard what do you mean by availability set? What is availability set? So I told you availability zone means it is the physical data center redundancy. So when you keep the virtual machines in the availability zone, that will make sure your application is redundant whenever there is a data center goes down or crashes. Correct? Huh? But in case of, and this is little pretty expensive because the data egress ingress happens. See, if the server is here, the application is here, and user is somewhere. Whenever the user access, the data should travel all this 250 kilometer via network. The network cost will also be there, and you are using two different data center. So Microsoft will give you a little extra charge for you. Okay, but this availability zone is there. Availability set is there. Availability set means it is within the data center. You don't have data center redundancy there, but you have hardware redundancy. Means you, whenever there, I mean, what you will do within the data center, say for example you have an office here. This is the data center, and here probably multiple racks are. This is one rack, this is one rack, and here also this is one rack, this is one rack. So what they will do, Microsoft, okay, so this is a path. Say for example when you are walking in the data center, okay, the, I mean, this is how the data center looks like. Let me show you in the image. Microsoft data center. See, this is how a data center looks like. Okay, say for example this image I'll take. Wait. Oh, la, la. Yeah, this is not coming. This is nice. See here, this person is in a data center. Okay, so these are called the racks. Actually, this is a one rack, this is a separate rack, this is a separate rack, this is a separate rack. Each and everything is a separate rack is there. Okay, so what they will do, Microsoft, you see here, each and every rack has got a different power system, different network connection, and different cooling system. Means within the data center you have different hardware. Okay, whenever, say for example, if you keep the virtual machine here, both the virtual machine, see this, each and every slot is a server, guys. Here, this is a separate server, this is a separate server, this is a separate server. Okay, nowadays the things are coming in a single like a plate kind of things, or disk kind of a things. Okay, so that is how the server comes. Okay, now instead of that, let me take a separate one. Wait, that is a little confusing only. Let me take this one. Okay, fine, let me take this one. So open it. See, this is fine. So if you look at here, this is a single data center. I mean, it is like within the region. I told you Bangalore data center, right? This is one of the Bangalore data center. So what Microsoft will make sure, when you select the availability set option, means instead of availability zone, if you select availability set, what Microsoft will tell you, you keep, you create a availability set and keep the virtual machines in the same availability set, and we will make sure that that computer or that server is segregated and kept in a different racks. Say for example you have 3 servers. What they will do, they will keep one server here in the corner one, this one, another one is in the somewhere in this room, another one is in the somewhere this one, this block. Okay, so that what it will, they will make sure for any reason, for fire or any electricity or any kind of disaster, if this entire rack goes down also, you still have two different applications which are kept in a different rack. So basically availability set means, availability set is nothing but it is a hardware redundancy within the same data center. But they'll Microsoft make sure those hardware, those servers will not share the common source of power, common source of network. Say for example, if you have an application server, if both the application servers are sharing the same link, say for example it is a switch. Okay, this is a multiple ports are there. Imagine you have application 1, application 2, application 3, and all the switches are connected or servers are connected to the same server. Imagine what if this switch goes fail, and here application user are trying to access the application, correct? Then due to this single point of failure, even though you have three servers up and running in the data center, you will not be able to access the application. So what Microsoft will do, when you select the availability set, okay, Microsoft will make sure they have, they are deploying the servers in the three, in the different hardware itself. Okay, and you see this hardware has got a separate switch. This hardware has got a separate switch. This hardware has got a separate switch. Okay, and when you deploy an application, here you have an application server, here you have an application server, here you have an application server, and the users are trying to access the application, you are hitting here. Okay, whenever there is a maintenance activity is happening, okay, whenever there is a maintenance activity is happening, Microsoft will make sure all the three will not be patched and rebooted at the same time. What they will do, they will do rolling restart. They have their own algorithm. Their algorithm detects that, okay, the same application is sharing three nodes, okay, because we you have kept in the availability set. So I told you, you will not hit the here, you will hit the availability set. Availability set you will hit. Okay, you will hit the availability set, and within the availability set you have this computer, this computer, and this computer. So whenever there is a patching activity is going on for this server, Microsoft will make sure this is up and running and this is up and running. Similarly, when they do the patching activity for this, they'll make sure this is up and running, this is up and running. Okay, at least one server is up and running to do the maintenance activity, that they will make sure with respect to the availability set. Okay, that is called as availability set. And Microsoft have one more concept called fault domain and update domain. Fault domain, this 100% they'll ask in the question, fault domain and update domain. Was that now? Okay, make fault domain and update domain. So fault domain means whenever there is a fault, Microsoft makes sure the VM is not in the single point of failure, means they will keep the virtual machines in the separate rack. Okay, maybe rack 1, rack 2, rack 3. If you keep, this is rack 1, this is rack 2, this is rack 3. Okay, when you are behind the availability set. So this update domain means the same way. Whenever there is an update is going on, or patching activity is going on, or maintenance activity is going on, Microsoft makes sure at least one server is up and running at a time, or it makes sure the servers are not, all the servers are not restarted at the same time. That is called as update domain. Okay, while updating the applications, or while updating the firmware, or while updating the patches, Microsoft makes sure it has got one server up and running. Okay? Update domain, update domain, update domain. Same goes. Okay, but this is cheaper compared to the availability zone option. This is cheaper. Okay, so I'll show you quickly on the portal how to create an availability set and how to put the virtual machines. Okay, so if you want to keep a virtual machine in the availability set, you have to create the you have to create the availability set before you deploy the virtual machines. Once you deploy the virtual machine, and then if you want to add it to the availability set, it is not possible. Okay, same fashion for the availability zone also. Once you deploy a virtual machine, you cannot keep it in the availability zone option. Okay, let me go to the portal and I'll show you with the existing virtual machines how that looks like. Okay, let me go to the portal.azure.com. Now you see we have couple of virtual machines, correct na? You have couple of virtual machine and you don't see any option of adding an existing virtual machine to the availability set or availability zone. See, if you look at here, if you see resource group, location, okay, and availability zone, it is not showing here. Okay, it won't show also. Wherever you see, you will not get the availability option. See, availability zone. If I edit, let me check. This is availability zone. Oh, availability zone can be put. Earlier it was not there, guys. Now I think now they have put it. Okay, but availability set is not possible. I'll show you that. Availability zone. You see, we started. VM cannot move to the availability zone due to insufficient quota. Okay, okay. See, availability. Once you create the virtual machine, you have an option now to change the availability zone. But availability set is not possible. That is why if you look at here, you don't see the availability set option. See, only against availability zone you have this edit option, but for the availability set you don't have edit option. Even for the scale sets also, scale set I'll do tomorrow. What is scale set? So once we do tomorrow what is scale set, then Monday onwards we will talk about other topics. Okay, like backup, disaster recovery, all these things we can talk. Okay, so now let me try to build one virtual machine, or before that what we can do, you have to create the availability set. Availability set, click on the availability set, create a new one. Okay, and see, you can create lbrg, or maybe you can create a new uh, availability set hyphen rg. Okay, where you are creating, maybe you are creating in the east us, name can be as01, availability set 01. So before I do that, east us, see how many update domains and how many fault domains you need. This is important. They will ask you what is update domain, what is fault domain. You see here, if you read the information of the fault domain, virtual machines in the same fault domain shares a common power source and physical network switch. Means fault domain, I told you, no, fault domain means they shares the common power source, common physical network and switches. Same I told. Okay, how many you are keeping? At least you are keeping in the same two. Update domain, you see here, virtual machines in the same update domain will be restarted together during the planned maintenance. Azure never restart more than one update domain at a time. Means you have to maintain, you have to tell how many, how many for update domains you wanted. You want 5, you want 2, depends on the cost. See, if you increase this up and down, your cost will be vary. Okay, so you can tell, you keep the virtual machines copies in one or two or three update domains, or maybe one or two fault domains. You can select. If you put two, they will keep the virtual machines in the two different track. If you put five, they'll make sure the copy of the VMs are there five times. Okay, combination. Okay, then whether you want to use managed disk, yes, I want to use the managed disk. So next, advanced proximity placement group. See, this is one of the another high availability option. Actually, they'll make sure the things. See, a proximity placement group is a logical grouping used to make sure that Azure compute resources are physically located close to each other. Proximity placement groups are useful for the workloads where low latency is requirement. Means if you want the applications are sit next to each other. Say for example, there are 100 seats. Okay, you go to the theater, in the single row there are 100 seats. What you can do, if you select this proximity placement group, you and your friends, you will be sitting together, maybe one or two seats here and there, not you are sitting in first seat, another person is sitting in 100th seat, not like that. They'll make sure the servers are sitting close to each other. Okay, that is called as proximity placement group. And I don't need any proximity placement group as of now. Let me go to the tags and I'll create. So this is how you create the availability set option. So once you create the availability sets, once you create the availability set, then you can go and deploy the virtual machines. So before I deploy the virtual machines, let me delete these two virtual machines which I don't need. Otherwise I don't have free space actually, or free CPUs in my lab. Okay, what you have to do, I'll go again, go to virtual machine and go to the create virtual machine, click on create Azure virtual machine, then you get the wizard. So people may ask you, can you please guide me how you will build a virtual machine step by step? You have to tell log into the Azure portal, go to the virtual machine tab, and then the virtual machine creation wizard will populate, and this has got multiple blades in it. Basic is a blade, disk is a blade, networking is a blade, rest everything is not required. I mean, it is optional. Mandatory is basics. Okay, disk is mandatory, networking is mandatory. Okay, management is optional, monitoring is optional, advanced is optional, tags mandatory. I mean, it is optional, but in the real time offices, it is mandatory. Okay, and then review create. So you go to the basic options here and you will key in the information you needed, right? You will select the free trial subscription or whatever subscriptions you have, and you select the virtual the resource group. Our resource group is availability set hyphen resource group RG, and the virtual machine name is VM01 hyphen AS01. Okay, just to see, and it is in the East US only. And if you look at here, availability zone option is there. See, availability option. See, Azure offers a range of options for managing availability and resiliency for your applications. Architect your solution to use replicated VMs in availability zones or availability sets to protect your apps and data from the disaster, outages, and maintenance events. The same thing I told you. So Microsoft give you various options. It depends on you, whatever what kind of availability you needed. Okay, but if you click on this option availability zone, you see three things here. One is in availability zone, means three physical data centers will be there within each region. If you select availability zone, you see here below you get zone 1, see zone 2, zone 3. Okay, you can keep maybe virtual machine 01 in AS01 in the AZ1, maybe virtual machine AS2 in the AZ2, and virtual machine 03 in the zone 3. If you are having a three application servers, same application servers, then you can keep one virtual machine in one zone. Okay, once you build a virtual machine in a zone 1, you cannot directly move the virtual machine to the zone 2 or zone 3. What you have to do, you have to take the snapshots, build a virtual machine, fresh virtual machine in the, say for example, you have taken this AS01, you are deployed in the AZ1 availability zone 1. Okay, so availability zone 1 you have deployed, but now you wanted to build that in the availability zone 2. Okay, earlier we didn't add an option to move, but nowadays you have direct options. Let me check actually today. Let me verify it. Earlier we were last batch when I did, I was not able to do, but now I can see the zone changing option. What we will do, we'll build virtual machine in zone 1, okay, and then we'll try to move it to the zone 2. Okay, but in my case I'm not doing the availability zone now, I'm doing the availability set option. Once you select the availability set option, okay, then it will load availability, whatever availability sets are available. If you remember, I have just created an availability zone, the availability zone name called availability set, the availability set name is AS01. Sorry, okay, I am working on the availability set now. I am choosing the availability option as availability set. since I am selecting the availability set, I am also choosing the availability set which I just created. The name of the availability set is AS01, and you see the security options and all will come. Okay, you can select the standard security things, and the operating system is server 2022 data center. Okay, and then the rest of the things can be carried the way you wanted. Okay, so just enter the username here. Username is local admin, password is local administrator, and the password is I'm entering the password. Okay, and entering the password again. LOCALADMINISTRATOR. Yes, I'm good. So now the NSG rules, the public inbound ports. I need to select both RDP and HTTPS according to the application. In my case, now it is only enough for an RDP port. Not I don't need HTTP and HTTP because I'm not deploying any uh, applications in it. Now, if you look at, I have entered all the basic information, and the next one is networking. So in the networking, you can create or you can use the existing. This is the disk one actually. How much GB of disk you wanted? You can select 128 GB disk, P10, or whether you want P15. See, if it is 256 GB, it is 215. But it is a OS disk now. Let us have only 128 GB. Not a problem. And what kind of disk you wanted? You want the storage, I mean premium solid state disk SSD, or premium SSD, standard SSD, standard HDD, everything. Okay, see, this standard HDD is then a hard disk drive. This is very cheaper. For 100 GB, if you consider 10 rupees, the premium is 3 times costlier than the HDD. Means if it is 100 GB standard HDD 10 rupees, the premium SSD will cost you around 60 rupees. But the performance is 3 to 4 times faster than the HDD. Premium SSD will exhibit. If you shut down or if you power on a computer, if you have a premium SSD drive, the computer will come up within 5 to 6 seconds. But the standard HDD will take 2-3 minutes. By the time you can go for a coffee and come back. Okay, that is the difference. The performance is different. As the same way, the price is also different. Okay, I'll explain you in the future the difference and all. Okay, and networking, now you just select the existing VNet 01 and the 10.00/16. See, 10.0.04 is the subnet. It's fine. And public IP, do you need? Yes, I need a public IP. You can select the public IP, PIP, or I can use the existing one. None is there. Okay, I'll use the existing one, or I don't need the. Okay, let me create it. Why? If it is required, PIP, public IP 01. What is the VM? It is AS VM 01 hyphen AS, or AS 01 hyphen VM 01 hyphen PIP 01. Okay, fine. Let me create it. Subscription free trial to meet your quota. Okay, okay, fine. It's already 3 are there. That is the reason I don't need a public IP. Not a problem. Okay, and load balancer, I don't need anything. So let me go to the management. See, I don't do anything. Only the first tab, basic disk and networking, I'm giving. But whenever you have time, you have to review each and every tabs. Okay, and then review and then create. So it will take a while. Yeah, now I'm clicking on the create option. Then the deployment will start begin. It will take maybe 1 or 2 minutes, or less than 1 or 2 minutes also. Sometimes it depends on the bandwidth. The deployment is started now. Okay, so meantime, I would like to go to an existing virtual machine and see if I can change the availability options there, the zone option. Okay, because I told you day one when I was doing the demo, the Microsoft is evolving like anything. Every now and then they are bringing new features. Okay, so if you look at the VM03, okay, As of now, it doesn't have any availability zone options. If I go here, see, as of now, it doesn't have any availability zone option. What I will do, I will try to select some availability zone option. I am trying to move a virtual machine to the availability zone now. Okay, and see whether it will get moved or not. Creating a system, assign, manage identity. This process takes few minutes to complete. Okay. And the name of the VM is VM03 network interface card is this one. Okay, so it's happening. So let the validation complete. So meantime, I came back to this deployment. See the virtual machine, the AS01 virtual machine is completed now. If I click on go to resources, you see the VM got built. See, and when you see the availability options here, see the availability set is there. What is availability set name? It is AS01. So this is how you build a virtual machine behind the availability set. But you cannot change the availability set. Availability set, once you build a virtual machine without the availability set, you cannot add the virtual machine behind the availability set. What you have to do in order to do that, you have to build a fresh virtual machine in the availability set and go to the disk options here. Here, disk options here. Okay, and take the snapshot of the disk. Click on this disk actually. Okay, and then take the snapshot of the disk. Take the snapshot of the disk, create a disk once the snapshot is done, and then build a new virtual machine in the availability set, and then whatever disk you have attached, taken, now swap the disk. Okay, server A is there without the availability set. What you have to do, you have to log into the portal, go to the disk of the server A, and then take the snapshot, convert a disk from the taken snapshot, keep it ready. Okay, maybe you can mark it as server A hyphen os disk hyphen disk R, os disk R, or os disk 1. Then what you have to do, you have to build a fresh virtual machine in the availability set. Then what you have to do, you have to go to the disk, and then in the disk option you have the swap disk option here. See here, if you open this, or if you see here, here only you have the swap disk. See, swap disk is there, and you create what disk you wanted to swap. Select the newly created disk from the VM01 which was there without the availability set, and then apply OK. Then the application will be as it is connected to the newly built virtual machine which is behind the availability set. Even the availability zone, earlier we were doing like this. Earlier what we were doing, we were building a virtual machine and then swapping the VMs from one AZ to another AZ. Okay, that is how you have to handle, and that is how you manage the availability sets. That's about the availability sets. So now see, creating the system assignment process takes time. Okay, I don't know why it is not happening. I will just work on it, but you have an option now to move the availability zones. You can move the computers from one availability zone to another availability zones. Earlier this option was not there. Okay, so with this, we have completed the availability options. Now you know, to increase the availability, there are various options are there. Okay, you have availability in the load balancer to increase the performance of the application and also make sure to have the applications redundant always. Correct, huh? And that virtual machines, whatever you build, either you can keep those virtual machines in the availability zone where you have the data center redundancy and resiliency, and if you have this availability set option to have the hardware redundancy and the resiliency, right? So if you use either load balancer with availability zone or availability set, Microsoft will give you 99.9999% of the SLA. So they'll give you 6 digits of nines SLA they'll give you. Okay, with this we are done with the availability topics, theory as well as the practicals. I'm stopping my recording. We'll take the questions if you have any.